let's make content. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Verdigris table. We're doing something different today, and I'm really excited about it, and I hope it goes well because we're going to do a bunch of these if this feels good. And Brad Wolf is lucky enough to be my first victim here, live from the Dire Den. Brad has a great YouTube channel that is focused on a lot of dungeon master skills, but I find a lot of his like campaign building advice. He has his Oh man, four feuding factions is my favorite part, but it's the evens, get even campaign prep.
Yep.
Easy, actionable, not just like 50,000 foot view, but like step-by-step guides, whether you're a new dungeon master or very experienced and you're just looking for like an inroad to homebrewing. Welcome, Brad. I'm so happy to have
Thanks.
you here.
Thanks. I love to hear you say actionable because was the goal when I set out with the YouTube channel is there. I feel like there's plenty of just general advice out there, but
Mm.
I wanted to give people really actionable, usable steps and advice on how to get into this hobby.
Yeah, and I appreciate that because I think of those terms a lot as like when I'm trying to make a video, I try to lean more towards like education than entertainment. And I don't know, maybe YouTube would treat me better if I did lean more into the entertainment. But yeah, I like you're not just like here's what Hasbro did wrong today. It's like, okay, here's how you're going to like improve your game and like step by step, not just like generalities. And you're it's not your last video, but a recent video, everything's a dungeon. You did the Baldur's Gate map, and then you made it a point crawl, and then you made it into a dungeon and like overlaid the rooms on top of Baldur's Gate. And like I do that kind of like abstractly, intuitively, but to like see it so concretely, I found very useful and again super helpful for people because like not everyone brain is built like my weird contraption up here. I am sure that like turned the lights on for a lot of people because people are intimidated to run big cities because they can go anywhere. How do I do this? And the
Right.
second you overlay that with the dungeon, and then like, I mean, you talk it through. Obviously, it's more than it's not a short. It's a good long video. But man, I thought that was genius, and I think a lot of people are
Thanks.
going to, yeah, a lot of people are going to respond to that and be helped by that, be able to see things in a different way. So links, where links are going, I will definitely um point everyone to the Dire Den and to that specific video, and then go click around the playlist for the campaign prep. Yeah, I don't know. What's new and exciting? You got anything to pitch before we get into it and start rolling some dice?
Yeah. Well, the next month is my 1 year anniversary of the Dire Den.
Oh,
So yeah, so I'll have a what's up with Dire Den, year in review coming up video, and we'll be launching a Patreon about the same time. So
oh,
that's my big work for March. Yeah. So
nice,
happy
congrats.
anniversary to Dire Den in March.
Yeah, happy anniversary. What? I didn't realize it was a year. One, because yeah, you're putting out content. It seems like you're a consummate professional at this. But two, man, what a year to start. Like I'm not. I feel like I just started, but I don't know. I'm somewhere in my second year right now. But like, woo! Last year was a crazy time to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons. And
Yeah.
whatever, aligning yourself with the company. I will say most
Yeah.
of what,
It was a
yeah,
wild ride for sure.
I
Yeah.
don't see you as like I mean, you're a 5e guy to an extent, but you've been around for a while, and again, your actionable advice is not just like custom character builds. It's transcends systems and additions. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's the goal is because I just love this game and I've been playing since you know 1983 and the basic set came out.
Mm.
Um, and so it's just been every aspect of D&D so it's not just about WotC. Like I think it's like you said last year was crazy. So hitting WotC was so 2003. Um,
We've been here before because like whatever we're well, okay, you got started in March. I'm sure you were thinking about it before March, but like I was super plugged in. So like I heard about it before it was news, and I disbelieved the rumors, not because I thought Hasbro would be good and not an evil corporation, but because they tried this and it was a disaster for them. And it's, yeah, just rinse and
Yeah,
repeat.
yeah, it didn't work in fourth edition. Why would they do it again? But
Wild.
yeah, but
This
yeah, I'm
is not that
definitely
kind of video. We're not going to bash Hasbro.
no, I'm definitely not a WotC fanboy by any stretch of
mm,
the imagination, but
mm,
I still think 5e is a good addition of the game, and I support people playing it, um and it's still the most popular version. So a lot of my videos talk about 5e, um, just for context, right? But my goal is to help anybody who's running, any type of role playing game, especially any D&D related role playing game, from OSR stuff to, new SRs, people call it.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
I think because it's a nerd culture, we get very caught up in the classification of things and like organizing things, and that quickly becomes like tribalism and picking sides and stuff. But like D&D is not fifth edition, and it's not an IP owned by Hasbro. Like D&D is Xerox or Kleenex. It's a name that is now an umbrella term representing like, if I say TTRPG, unless you've played years of D&D, you don't know what I mean, right? So like, but if I say D&D, you're meeting people where they are. And again, I think that's
right,
like the actionable educational approach to things, whereas you're not trying to plant your flag on some hill somewhere. You're
right.
trying to meet people where they're at, which yeah, I admire and respect for sure.
Yeah, and I think the game is great no matter which version you're playing, right? Because it's when it comes to the rules, that's largely trappings and preference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, at the core, you're rolling dice to figure out an outcome, and you're telling a collaborative story. That's the beauty of role playing games.
Wise words. Wise but brilliant. That's what it is. You see through the matrix eventually.
Right.
Speaking of rolling dice, let's roll some dice here. We're gonna play D20 questions. Let me show everybody at home what we're working with here. Do 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 do. And Brett, I'm going to allow you to control your fates
All right.
and roll a D20 for me.
I get to click the button. Let's go.
Click the button. 15. All right. Oh, this is a great one. I'm glad you pulled this. It might take a little bit of thought. So I'm not looking for like the number one, but name a moment that would be on your TTRPG, be it a player or a dungeon master, your highlight reel, your best
Oh.
of album.
Um. Oh. Probably 2 Halloweens ago, I ran Professor Dungeon Master's Eldritch Hack,
Hmm.
um, Cloak House Adventure, for Halloween. It was a Halloween one shot, and my group brought their A game, and it was just the absolute best role playing session I've ever played. It was outstanding. Um, and they were just on it as far as the characters, and that allowed me the freedom, since they were really owning the characters and making solid choices. It allowed me the freedom to kind of play like movie director, and so
Hmm.
I was really having fun cutting the scene at the most tense moment and shifting the camera over to somebody else at the table. And it was brilliant, but it was not because of my brilliance. It was like this awesome synergy that we hit that night. It was fantastic.
I love that. Yeah, because it's about the dynamics. I mean, well, few people I want to play with become dungeon masters because they want to be referees and enforce the rules and prove their encyclopedic knowledge of the system. I love it when I get to be a director, and yeah, you can't do it on your own. You need the talent to come through first. Um, but yeah, do you find in your experience that players are more immersed in some ways, or more willing to just like dive into the deep end quickly in a one shot with their characters versus in a campaign? Because I feel like I've seen both, but I think sometimes when it is all right, I got 3 hours with this guy, I got to make him count. they come
Yeah,
alive.
I do. And we actually played a lot of one shots last year because we were trying out different systems.
Mm,
Which honestly, I think that was the best thing about 2023 is it gave everybody motivation to try something new, right?
yeah.
Um, so my players were interested, and so I was pulling out all sorts of games. But yeah, 100%. I think there's something about the one shot, and and I think the other thing that really works well in one shots is when you're using pre-made characters,
Mm,
and that's the great thing about that Cloak House adventure is the pre-made characters all have like connections to each other.
mm.
So every character in that adventure has a reason to hate every other character. So it really ratchets up the tension right from the beginning because you come in with this character and your character sheet says, yeah, you don't like this guy because of that, and you don't like her because of this, and you don't like him because of that. And and it really leads to that, drama. So yeah, I think the one shot, especially with pre-made characters, does lean into that. Like, all right, let's run with this character. This is crazy. Let's just go all out.
Yeah, and it's counterintuitive that the having all of these decisions made for you out of the gate, right? The limits spark your creativity. It's, a blank slate can be very intimidating, and by the time you've made 100 choices, right? Like, I guess I'm going to put +1 in Dex instead of, you've used a lot of that creative juice on the math problem of making a character. But when you can hit the ground running, and it's like, no, you hate this guy. That's it. And now the question is, how do you express that? How do you evolve that during role play? And like, do you change it or really lean into it? Um, and circling back for a sec, tell me about Professor Dungeon Master is a fellow dungeon tuber, dragon tuber. I'm rooting for dragon tuber. No one says it. But D&D tuber, whatever we're doing. And he's a very interesting, knowledgeable, opinionated fellow with quite a following. So if you don't know him, check him out. But yeah, tell me about his one shot because I actually haven't checked. I know it exists, but I have not read a page of it.
Yeah, so Eldritch Hack, like I think everybody's who's familiar with Professor Dungeon Master has heard of his D&D hack, Deathbringer, right?
Deathbringer. Yeah, if you know the voice, if you don't know the rule set.
Right. But he's got an adventure that comes with a little rule set, and it's like super rules light, and it's called Eldritch Hack, and it's basically, what Deathbringer is to D&D, Eldritch Hack is to Call of Cthulhu, right?
Mm.
So it's this super rules light horror RPG, and it comes with a pre-made adventure called Cloak House, which is about this family who hates each other, and it's the structure of the story is very much like House on Haunted Hill, right? You've
Hmm.
got to spend a night in the mansion in order to get your inheritance. And of course, the mansion is haunted, and you're also surrounded by your family who you hate and hates you.
I want to play this. That's perfect.
Yeah,
That sounds so appealing. Yes,
it's a great one shot. Yeah, it's super fun.
I'm gonna get my hands of that. All right, let's roll some more dice here.
All right.
Let's see what we get on D20 questions. Da-da-da-da. What is that? That's a 19 you pulled?
It looks like it, yeah.
All right.
Maybe I should have picked a different colored dice for the background.
Oh, it's I was yeah, I might maybe I can pick the background because that's off the compendium art. And I was messing around with like different dice colors. But yeah, gold is the default. By the way, I'm using D dice, which is a virtual tabletop that is pretty bare bones but easily shareable and quick, which is what I like in D&D tools or TTRPG tools, especially when playing online. All right, 19. What's your concept for the next campaign or the next game, even if maybe especially if you're never actually going to run it? Like what's the big concept that you're like, yeah, next time that's what we're going to be trying to do?
So I've actually, let's see, I've got three ideas I've been kicking around.
I'd be
Uh,
disappointed if you only had one.
um, one is this little indie game called Goblinville.
Oh,
And the premise of the game is obviously you play goblins, but there's a downtime mechanic where you actually build the village.
Mm.
So you go
Mm.
out on adventures, you come back and you spend your scratch, because you're a goblin. You're not good enough to get gold. You get scratch
Hmm.
is the economy in Goblinville. And then you're trying to build Goblinville and survive. So that game, kind of like tooling around with ideas for that and using like all the adventurer tropes as the villains.
Oh yeah.
So like a group of human adventurers shows up and wrecks your village. Um, but yeah, so Goblinville's one. My players love Baldur's Gate 3, so I've been formulating a potential campaign set in Baldur's Gate, like
Mm.
doing the whole city campaign. And of course, I grew up playing. When I grew up, I was an adult, but I played Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 back, way back when.
I remember grinding ants to get gems and pants and stuff and going back to Baldur's Gate to like sell them and upgrade stuff. Like just me and my and we were not children. I don't know, we were 22. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. We'd watch Adult Swim and then we would just grind Baldur's Gate for hours. I guess that was two. Yeah. It's
Gotcha.
wild that there isn't a Baldur's. I mean, there are, but there's not a recent tie-in Baldur's Gate, be it an adventure. I mean, you have a Descent to Avernus as Baldur's Gate, but it's crazy that they didn't have a tie-in like, source book come out at the same time.
I know.
Um,
I feel like, I mean, they did put the Baldur's Gate Gazetteer from Descent into Avernus on D&D Beyond for free.
mhm.
But yeah, I don't know why they didn't do more like D&D 5th edition marketing around Baldur's Gate when the game came out, because it seems like a no-brainer. I feel like they left a lot of money on the table right there.
Yeah.
Has probably would have liked WotC to have capitalized on that a little better, huh?
Yeah, I was thinking like the fan service side of it, but like, yeah, the business side of it too. Like, what? Come on. I mean, I guess they didn't. You couldn't know it was going to be as successful as it is because it's great. I mean, your players love Baldur's Gate because everybody is in love with this game. All right, give me number three because right now I think I'm signing up for Goblinville, but keep talking.
So the other one is there's this it's called Rangers of Shadowdeep, and it's a tabletop skirmish game,
Hmm.
but it has a campaign mode. And I've always wanted to play this skirmish game, but with YouTube channel and playing D&D, that takes up all my time. So I was like, well, what if I just took the campaign from Rangers of Shadowdeep and put it into a Shadow Dark or D&D adventure?
Mm-hmm.
That's my other idea, is like taking the Rangers of Shadowdeep and just running that as an RPG adventure instead of as a skirmish game.
Yeah, so it was so a buddy of mine actually when I launched the Kickstarter back in October, I took some time off of running and one of my players DM'd that for like 3, 4 sessions and I had actually never heard of it, I don't think. It was fairly quick to pick up. And it's very strategy. Like we brought RP to it. But that's not you have to bring your own, right?
Right.
But like tactically, I felt like my character was almost always like about to die, even though like no one dropped for three sessions, but like it was very tense the entire time. Every tactical decision you made mattered. And I think we went 3 levels through. I don't know if it's the same campaign that you're considering, but like we went 3 levels through the campaign and it was interesting and you're hiring retainers and stuff. But there is this, I feel like a misunderstanding of like, well, this is built for this, so I have to use it in that system. It's like, no, no, you don't. You can
Right.
you can rip
Yeah.
any system out and rip any setting out. Um, and yeah, man. I mean, I'm stealing everything on this shelf. I am running in whatever my players want to run. Which is 5th edition, unfortunately. But like, yeah, I pull ideas from everything. Yeah, inspiration's everywhere.
Oh
Get it
yeah.
while you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dope. Okay, so if you are gonna run the Goblin game online, uh let me know,
Let you
man.
know.
I'll sign up. All right, give me another D20.
All right.
Let's see what we get. 10, 10, 10, 10. Uh, Speaking of rules, what is your favorite house rule or like a rule that you have lifted from another system or another edition? Once again, I will accept multiple answers here.
Well, again, because of my fondness for OSR stuff, one simple house rule that I just put in almost every game I play is slot-based encumbrance
Oh,
because it just 'cause I don't want to do math on encumbrance, but I feel like if you don't have some kind of encumbrance, it gets ridiculous, right? So
yes.
I think slot-based encumbrance is something I picked up years ago and just have run with ever since. That's an easy one I think everybody could use.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, is your like homebrew hack or who's like what system are you using for that slot-based encumbrance?
um, gosh, I don't even remember where I first found it. I know, um, like Maze Rats is like a
Mm,
simple rules light game,
hmm
and if that's the one I'm thinking of, that I think that actually uses the your slot based your encumbrance slots, right? Your gear
hmm
slots as hit points.
Yeah,
So you
I think it's tied to your strength. I don't know if it's called strength, but like your strength mod is 10. You can carry 10 things, and some things are two slots, which I like. Yeah, it's a
right,
brilliant solution, which I find it's wild that there isn't a built-in 5e or Pathfinder. Like nobody's doing math. Even I don't even care if you're using D&D Beyond. Like I'm not making you add up the weight. But then yeah, I mean the other night my players had like I did it. Somebody said I took the head off the ogre, but I didn't hear it. So like, fast forward a couple days later in game time, and so like I pull out this ogre's head. It's just like, hold, how big is an ogre's head? Like we got to talk about this. Hold on. And so we talked about it for 20 minutes, and they went and bought a donkey, so we don't have to talk about it anymore. But
so they have an ogre's head on the back of a donkey. That's right.
well, they used the ogre's head to convince people that they had killed the ogre.
Okay.
But he would have accepted ears. I don't know. It's just like, all right, how much does a human head weigh? How much bigger is an ogre than a human? Multiply by it's just like the complex equations and questionable Google searches you do as a dungeon master. Always interesting. But yeah, slot-based encumbrance is definitely so my next thing is I don't know what it is exactly, but it's more survival based, more realistic, more like yeah, and slot-based encumbrance is just a brilliant solution to all of that.
Yeah. And um and then the other house rule that I lifted from somewhere specific was the Blaze of Glory thing from Daggerheart. Daggerheart's not even out yet, but I heard a little bit about like the play test, and
Hmm
they have this rule where when you drop to 0 hit points, you get options.
Mm.
And one of those options is to just go out in a blaze of glory. Um, so I stole that idea and I've kind of worked it. And so now I mean, we're running 5e, but it's, my 5e. It's
Yes.
not rules as written. But so we have three choices when you drop to 0 hit points. You can, we call it Hand of Fate, where you just get one death saving throw, either live or die on one saving throw. That's kind of the default. But
hmm
you could choose to automatically pass that death saving throw by taking a permanent injury,
Ooh, yes, I like that.
which is so it's a -2 to one of your stats. So like in our current campaign, the rogue has taken a -2 to their charisma, so she describes herself as having a big scar.
Hmm
And then the paladin took a -2 to his intelligence, so he's always forgetting stuff, like he's got concussion syndrome. Um, and then the third option is Blaze of Glory. So if you choose Blaze of Glory, you're gonna die, but you automatically get a critical hit before you go out.
I love a feature or ability that tells you what it is right on the package, right? Like I know what that is. And yeah, I mean that's always going back to like the running a one shot thing because that's a forever GM. That's pretty much the only time I play a game. That's what I'm looking for every time, right? Like either your character goes out in a blaze of glory, maybe they retire and open a tavern, right? If the campaign goes long enough and you complete a cycle, but like more often than not, they're gonna fade into obscurity because some new shiny game's gonna come along or somebody's work schedule is gonna change and something's gonna happen. So like Blaze of Glory is a great choice.
Yeah. Well, and just 2 weeks ago, the gnome, no, he's not a gnome, is he's a water genasi. He's a water genasi alchemist.
mhm,
Um, and he went out in a blaze of glory, um and he cast the Melsa acid arrow, uh, because it's a roll to hit.
mhm.
Got a critical hit with Melsa acid arrow,
Yes.
and so I was like, all right, like, how do you want to do this? And he goes, I jump towards him, and I just vomit out this like bile of like just sinister magic and just spit acid all over them.
Mm,
And he rolled his crit, and it was enough to kill the target. So I just described the bad guy just melting, as into a puddle, with both him and the water genasi, you know, going down in this, you know,
incredible. And that's the
inc-
stuff you remember. Like that's the good stuff. Have you dove much into Daggerheart? I mean, I know the playtest just came out. I haven't there's so much to explore these days. But have you seen much beyond? I mean, that right there is a glowing endorsement.
Yeah, I just ran across that mechanic early on and just like loved it and stole it and put it in my game.
Mm,
But no, I haven't done any in depth. I know, I think Bob World Builder,
mhm.
he just did a new video on it, but I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I was intrigued by Candela Obscura, but Daggerheart is the one, like, I don't know, everyone's looking for the new, Kingpin, and it's going to be D&D. But if anyone's a contender, it's certainly Critical Role. There's a couple other, companies throwing their hats in the ring, but yeah, we look. Oh, my dog wants to come play. Not right now. All right, let's do one more of these. What's that? That's three?
All
Yeah, maybe two more. Let's see what we get.
right,
Give me D20.
all right, here we go. 20.
20. Yes, good. Because this is the one I want to know. What
All
is your
right.
best, and we're gonna everything already on the shelf, what we spoke about. What is your best move, trick, or hack? What is your dungeon master like special move, your superpower?
Um, the well, I mean, you already mentioned my four feuding factions part of my
I'll
campaign prep.
allow it. I'll allow it because I didn't go into that, and I think it's a great system. Go check out that video. But I think the cornerstone, no pun intended, is that that just resonates with me. So yeah, please by all means explain the four feuding factions.
Well, I was gonna say, like, people can go watch that video. It's okay. Um, uh, I would say probably, if I'm gonna say like a hack, something that's just real quick and easy to grasp and really use, um, is secrets and clues.
Mm,
Sly Flourish, right?
hmm
In fact, I built my get even campaign prep process to work with Sly Flourish's um adventure prep steps, his 8 steps of the lazy dungeon master.
hmm
I built my steps for campaign design around his 8 steps. But one of his 8 steps is secrets and clues, and I think that's just the the easiest and best piece of advice that really makes it easy on a dungeon master, is the
hmm
idea that you just write down 10 things that are important for the players to know, that are going to drive the campaign forward. 10 pieces of information, and you can put them anywhere, right? um and people talk about like quantum ogres, and the problem of like DMs like predetermining, right? Well, the concept of quantum ogre, right, is this idea that you've got the same ogre who's existing in 2 different locations,
hmm
right? If the players go right, they fight the ogre. If they go left, they fight the ogre.
hmm
But secrets and clues, they don't have to be um on a set piece of paper or in a set location, right? Because multiple people can have the same knowledge, so it's not like this quantum ogre idea. So you could have from the red wizard to the evil druid, and that letter has this clue on it.
Hmm.
But if the players never find that piece of paper, that's fine, because that knowledge, that's that clue that's on that piece of paper, you know, somebody else could know that as well. So that clue could also be in like 5 or 6 other places in the campaign setting. So the
Exactly.
idea is you have these secrets and clues on hand, and so when your players stump you, well, I searched the room. Do I find anything interesting? Well, not really. I didn't have anything planned, but wait, I got my secrets and clues over here.
Hmm.
And so when the players go somewhere that you weren't expecting, or do something that you're, you know, don't have prepared, you can just turn to your secrets and clues and pick one of those pieces of information that makes sense for an NPC, or a letter, or, scrawled on the wall, or whatever. You have this secret or clue available as not only a reward for the players exploring, but also a prompt to get them back into the story, or to continue the story, right?
Yes, and that is the name of the game. The problem with the quantum ogre is not that there's an ogre in superposition, right? Like it's a controversial thing, but I think that's okay. I got an ogre. I don't know where it is yet. I have a potential. I have an ogre. He's a wave of potential right now. I don't know how deep into quantum physics we want to get. Um, that's not the problem with the quantum ogre. The problem with the quantum ogre is he's in the left path and he's in the right path, and it doesn't. And this choice doesn't matter.
Right.
And quantum information allows the players to make informed choices because I have more ways to get that information to the players, and now they get to make choices that matter. Because honestly, it doesn't matter if I don't telegraph that ogre somehow, or have it in a book somewhere, or like drawn on a map that they discovered. Like if they have no way of knowing which way the ogre is, and no way of knowing the difference between the left path and the right path, then it's a coin toss. It's not an informed choice. It looks like a decision, but it's actually just a waste of time. Um,
Right.
and yeah, and a lot of great resources getting dropped in here. Sly Flourish is on that bookshelf, but it's not written on the spine. I think a lot of people actually. I mean, he's super popular, so obviously a lot of people find it. But I think the name Lazy Dungeon Master is off-putting to some people. It's not this zero prep concept. It's quite the opposite. It's the smart dungeon master. I think it's a very efficient way to go about looking at the important stuff so you don't get lost in the minutia, perhaps the way the Dungeon Master's Guide would suggest you prep a campaign or
That's
a session.
a
Um,
great way to say it. Yeah, that
so Mike Shea does a really good job of like, here's the stuff that you're going to be happy to have in the couple hours when you're running the game, and the the secrets includes the information that you want to impart on the players is huge. I don't want to. This is about you, not me. But one of the stretch goals that we unlocked was 100 ways to deliver information, and
cool.
I could have come up with a better description for that. I think I don't know if a lot of people like if that clicked for a lot of people, but like the table actually went up today. Happy Leap Day, everybody! I mean, we've already leapt by the time you've seen this. Um, but yeah, just having you walk into a room, I natural 20 on an investigation check. Crap, there wasn't really much to find in here, but here's an inscription on the bottom of a statue. Here's a million ways to get information to your players, and here's the bag of 10 things that like I want you to know. I'm looking for every opportunity to impart this knowledge to you so that it can progress the story forward and you can make informed decisions, and it's not just, oh, you had to pull this particular book off this particular bookshelf and then roll high enough on a religion check to translate this knowledge into some like actionable information. Like, do not gatekeep info. New or experienced dungeon masters, it's very easy to lose the perspective behind the dungeon master screen. It seems very obvious to us what's going on, but unless you've
Right.
said it 3 times in the same session, right? If you said it 3 times over 3 hours over 3 different sessions, the players aren't remembering because they're trying to add 7 to an 18. You need the information in front of them
Right.
early
Well,
and often.
yeah, and I think dungeon masters often want things to feel earned,
Yes.
right? So and I think that's the temptation, that you want to like lock stuff behind skill checks, or you know exploration decisions,
Mm,
right? You want things to feel earned,
mm,
but you want to balance that like pretty heavily on the other side of giving the players enough information to move a story forward. And that's the other great thing about the secrets and clues tips is that between sessions you update the list, right? So you start with 10. They over the course of 2 sessions they found four of those things. Well, I've got to come up with four more bits of information. What are my NPCs up to? And it drives you as the dungeon master to be thinking proactively about the world instead of trying to be reactive to, well, what are the players going to do next, right?
mm.
Because that's a long list
Yeah, good luck.
trying to predict.
That way
So
madness
if
lies.
Yeah. But if you're thinking about your world and what the villains are up to and what the NPCs are doing,
Mm,
that informs your secrets and clues list. And so you're constantly refreshing that secrets and clues list with, well, what are the NPCs up to now? What is the villain up to now? What is going on with this faction and that faction, right?
mhm.
As opposed to trying to think about all the players and predict all of their, crazy behaviors.
Right. And the treasure, the payoff, the thing that they're earning isn't the smoke signals that are being emitted by what the big bad is doing, right? It feels like treasure for us, right? Because like knowledge and information is our currency on our side of the screen. But for on the player's side of the thing, they're not gonna feel super special when they get handed an envelope and they open it and it's like the letter between the two. The I mean, it the right kind of player is. Let me say that. But the real reward, the payoff, is when they sneak up on the quantum ogre because they have found out where it is and catch it napping, and or they follow those smoke signals to the chimney and find a secret way in, and now they're getting a drop on this dungeon. That's where the payoff is, not the discovery of the information. We want to just hand that out like popcorn. It's the acting on that knowledge because they might not. That's the thing. I think a lot of DMs are like holding on. They don't want to spoil it. They don't want to like ruin the big reveal or something. But again, the players don't. You see how all the dots connect, and the players don't yet. So you got to make sure they got a bunch of dots in front of them so they can see how they start to line up.
Yep. Yeah, and worst case scenario, if you give your players too much information and they figure out the plot, that's just as rewarding for them as
Mm,
the gotcha moment when you unveil it, right? Because they took the time to wait a second, hey, Sarah's been taking notes. What's going on? Let's take a look at these notes and let's put all the pieces together. If they go out of their way to figure it out,
hmm
that's great. Good on them. They're invested in your world. That I think that's even better than, you know, hiding the identity of the villain until the last minute. And, you
Right,
know,
right.
like that's a fun moment, but I don't know if that is nearly as rewarding as those players who actually put the clues together on their own and figure out the plan before you do. Right.
Right, because the plot isn't, I mean, like there's an evil guy plotting, but the arc of your story isn't the thing that you made in prep. It's what happens at the table. And like
Right.
it's a very interesting story. If they snuck up on your big bad, or they cracked the code and it was the quest giver all along and it was Scooby-Doo. Um, if they get the jump on them and smoke them and you don't get to use all your big bad's abilities, like that feels bad a little bit in the moment, but the dungeon master is the heel in a lot of ways at the end of the day. And whoop, there's another even bigger bad guy with the same stat block with the cool thing that you didn't get to use, who was pulling the strings all along, right? Like you have a million moves. They can't you neither side is playing to win.
Right.
So yeah, the misunderstanding and the misattribution of what the plot really is and how it evolves, I think gets a lot of folks into trouble. Um, because you
Right.
want to like
And there's
provide entertainment to your players, but that's not where it comes from.
Yeah. Again, you're not, you're not the author of the novel. You're not the director of the movie. This is a collaborative storytelling process.
Right.
In fact, my favorite thing, right, is when the players take all the clues and they've they've figured it out and they come to me and like, we know what's up, and they give me a scenario and an explanation of what the villain is up to and who the villain really is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but it's better.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, in my head, I'm like, that wasn't my plan, but it is now because that's better than what I came up with, right? They just took all my secrets and clues and workshopped a better story than I would ever have thought of on my own because there's five of them. And so
Exactly.
yeah, we're gonna run with that because it just makes a better story. Heck yeah.
Yeah. And that's yes, exactly. And that's the juice, man. That's the good stuff at the end of the day when that happens. And sometimes it happens another way, and they have convinced themselves of a red herring or something, and they go chasing that for a couple sessions. And like that is also okay. You don't have to tell them that they're wrong.
Right. Yeah. In fact, that I think Justin Alexander mentions that in his book. That you don't need to give red herring, so the players will find their own.
Exactly. It's a waste of time. That and yeah, and then when you start to realize that, you realize how 10 secrets and clues to hand out every session. One, you won't hit 10. But you want that sack full of 10 because you can sprinkle those out and it still might not be enough to
Yeah.
to convey
Right.
what's going on to people.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, you don't need to plant false flags and have red herrings at all. They'll do it themselves every time.
oh yeah. And like you said, again, you just run with it, right?
Mhm.
You know, if they came up with a red herring, you can run with it for a session, and then you got your gotcha moment, right? Where when they realize that they've gone down the wrong path and the villain has duped them,
Mhm.
when actually what it was is they just, they put the information together in a different way and came up with their own red herring. But now at the table, it plays out like the villain just double crossed them, right?
Right. Right. And yeah, it was the plan all along, whatever they did. And then yeah, and you always just end up looking like a genius if you just roll with it
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah,
fighting it.
don't fight it. Just let the players do what they do, and then you kind of retroactively make it make sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and that's, like you said, that's the juice. That's the storytelling process.
Because you're not alone. It can feel like it sometimes, but like you're only human. I think that stops a lot of people from actually being a dungeon master in the first place. It's like, I've been like, I did not expect you to do this, and I don't know what's over there, and like this might not be that good because I am straight up, I am unprepared. I prepared a lot of material. I've done a lot of things in my day. There's a lot of stuff rattling around in my brain, but like this ain't one of them. Like it's okay to be like, I am not perfect. I
Yeah.
think some people
Yeah,
need to hear that.
I did that running the first chapter of Ghosts of Saltmarsh, right? Like I
Mm,
had the haunted house. I had that
hmm
all prepared and ready, and I had the key NPCs ready in the town of Saltmarsh. And my players decided instead of going along the road up and around to the haunted house, we're gonna cut across the field and go through the farms
hmm
and talk to people along the way.
hmm
And I'm like, okay. So, um, and so I dug deep into like childhood memories because I was trying to come up with something.
Yeah.
And um, I remember my granddad when I was a kid used to watch the Dukes of Hazzard, right, with
hmm
Bo and Luke.
hmm
So yeah, so my characters ran into Bo and Luke and a corrupt sheriff and all these little things that I just made up on the fly, totally inspired by this Dukes of Hazzard show that I know, nobody watches anymore. Um, but yeah, and my players had a blast. Um, just uncovering the drama in this little farming community between Salt Marsh and the haunted house.
That's because yeah, there is no you can over prep the wrong things, but like you can never be prepared enough to not have to improvise at some point or another. Because I mean, Ghost of Saltmarsh, you like prep. I think it's eight. There's like a town council. There's like important NPCs that are going to drive the story from level 1 to level 12 or something. Like I'm sure you did a lot of work to prepare that town, and they're like, well, we're not going to talk to these guys. We're going to see if there's someone over here to talk to. And And now you're putting on a show, and now you're playing the game because that's what a player's doing all of the time. It's not actually it feels intimidating as a dungeon master. The player doesn't know what's going to be over there, so why do you don't necessarily have to either. Yeah,
Yep.
that's
But
great.
that's an example of like how you can use secrets and clues, right? Because I had done the prep of what was going on in the town of Saltmarsh.
Hmm.
The drama of the town is between the two political factions.
Right.
So I still took that same drama, right? So the farmers who I made gnomes, by the way, so it was Bo and Luke, the gnome farmers. Um, the farmers, of course, were on one side of the political, drama,
Hmm.
and the
Hmm.
sheriff was on the other side of the political
Hmm.
drama.
Hmm.
And so the players still got the message that there's these two key factions. One is loyal to the crown and one is not. One is loyal to, the merchant guild or whatever it is. And so they still got the information that there's these two kind of feuding factions in Saltmarsh. They just got it from the farmer and the sheriff instead of the eight people that the adventure told me to use.
Perfect. And yeah, and that's having that bag of 10 nuggets of information that can get translated through whatever they may find. Um, yeah, because you can put on a big political theater play, an interactive, one man show of 8 NPCs around the town council table, or yeah, you can have the good old boys who happen to be gnomes, espousing their political views. And guess which one the players are going to remember more in six
Right.
sessions when they're expected to choose a side or something. Yeah.
Right.
And they can always point at what you were wanted them to go to in the first place, right? Like,
Yeah, they still made it to the haunted house,
yeah,
and by
those
the
those boys might
uh,
be worried about what's going on up the hill in that haunted house situation, or they saw strange lights in the sky. That also has I really enjoy Ghost of Saltmarsh, but I think that's a little more, that's not a beginner module because it's like, one, it's got the Scooby-Doo thing in that haunted house, which I don't love. Here's an NPC, but he's going to double cross him, but they're not going to trust him in the first place anyway. So that's very hard to navigate. And then it's like, here's a boat. I hope you do what I expect you to do because now you can go anywhere in the world.
yeah,
You got to be ready to improv with that one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, but
And
it's a fun one though. Yeah, I would definitely, if you want to start with a seaside adventure, I would go with the what's the newest box, the Stormwreck Isle. You're actually doing
yes.
a series on that one right now.
Yes, the Seagrove Caves, I think, came out, launched today. Yeah, I like that little box. I like that little box. I wanted more, because it is the lightest of the boxes. And it's funny, I got that and the Pathfinder 2E starter set at the same time, and the Pathfinder box is like, woo, full of stuff.
Yeah.
So from like, I don't know, economics, meh, meh, play Pathfinder. But it's a good little starter adventure. It's got a lot of variety in it. And it stops at level 3, which is like kind of disappointing, but that means you can just point to whatever you want afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. And
it's a good one.
that's the great thing about an island adventure is like you can put that island off the coast of anywhere. Uh,
Yes. Yes. In fact, one of my big recommendations is like Saltmarsh is right. Saltmarsh is a very obvious choice. And you can skip the haunted house and let them go in at like keep them level 3 probably for the lizard folk chapter. I forget the title of it, but that just soups is like the big arc that you can carry through to the very end if you're like slightly clever. The book doesn't do it for you, but you can connect everything back to I think it's the residue in Saltmarsh, but there's Orcus and there's the residue. And you can make it all Orcus, and Orcus has like a very slight mention in the starter set. So that's it. Just like these little nuggets of information can start to carry through, and yeah, secrets and clues, baby.
yep.
Let's do one more. I mean, I don't know. You got a nat 20. It's hard to beat. So let's see. Let's see what we get here. Uh, Give me one more D20, please. Ooh. The only way to beat a D20 is a D20. So if and when you roll doubles, and I'm glad it happened on a nat 20 because it couldn't be better. We're talking about the lightning round.
Lightning round. Oh, cool.
Lightning
Yeah.
rounds. So it's almost yes or no, but it's quick, easy. I mean, you want to vamp, you want to digress. I'm here for it. Do you fudge? The hard hitting questions. I told you this wasn't journalism, but that's a gotcha question. Do you fudge dice?
Short answer, no.
What is your favorite dice size?
um, like D
D
D12.
D12, that's the right answer. The D12 is the tasty one, and no one understands why that's true. But you have a new player with a million dice in front of them. Which one is the D12? The one that looks tasty, and they pick it up every time. My favorite too. Published or homebrew? This is kind of a trick question, I think.
Homebrew.
Homebrew. Okay.
Yeah.
Decisive. Encumbrance, we actually talked about, and I really enjoyed your answer. Favorite class to play?
Thematically, sorcerer.
Ooh, ooh.
Um,
So then what's up mechanically is the alternative answer there?
yeah, I would say mechanically, wizard, just because it's a more efficient class
It's a
for if you
bet
want to play a
it's it's a
spellcaster.
better
Yeah,
it's a better sorcerer in
yeah,
some ways, which is a shame, which is not me casting shade on the
great.
sorcerer. It's me wishing that they did him better. Favorite
Hopefully the new edition does sorcerer better. That's my big fingers crossed for 5.5.
I want a constitution based sorcerer. I want it's like it's in your blood, it's your body. I want you to be able to like burn hit points to like get more meta magic. Like yeah, I don't know. We can talk about that all day. Favorite like lineage, species, bloodline, ancestry, whatever we want to call race. Yeah, what's your favorite?
The one I play the most is human. I
Mm,
like just being a guy, like
hmm
just being a dude in a fantasy world, and everybody else is weird, and I'm just a nobody, and I've got to make
mm.
a name for myself. I like playing a human.
That appeals to me very much. Yeah, because now you get to be like curious about everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was expecting you to say gnome because you said gnomes twice. Uh this you said OSR too a couple times. Combat as sport or combat as war? Are you
Hmm.
familiar with that like dichotomy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would. I think I lean more towards combat as war
Mm.
because I'm always thinking like verisimilitude, right? Like I want my world to feel gritty and lived in, and um, so I lean more towards combat being kind of the last resort. You don't want to get into this fight, but once you do, it's going to be tough.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Roll for stats, standard array, point by what 3d6 down the line, 4d6 drop the lowest. What's your attribute generation preference?
As a DM, stat array.
Mm-hmm. What
Just
as a
because it's good.
player?
As a player, I like to roll. Yeah.
Yes.
I don't care how many dice. I just want to roll.
hmm hmm Balance of realism, I feel like you just answered. Flying characters. Kosher at your table?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah.
We've talked about quite a few already, but your favorite or a favorite third party book tool, what do you got?
Third party tool. One. There's a lot of great ones out there, but I'm
Yeah,
gonna pick one that probably people don't think of as a tool, but
okay.
I use it as one, and
Mhm.
that's the Labyrinth role playing game.
Ooh, lab as in like Jim Henson's Labyrinth?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
any David Bowie and like they do goblins right in that game. I don't
Oh yeah, they
know.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goblins are fey, and they've always been fey because I watched Labyrinth as a kid.
Thank you. Yes. All right. End of interview. We're done, folks. Another very difficult question, but you roll 220s. Favorite non D&D game with the understanding that it is all in fact D&D, but your favorite non, Dungeons and Dragons official product system.
Monster of the Week.
Hmm. Hmm.
I really like the Powered by the Apocalypse system, and Monster of the Week is just a really great version of it. I just love it.
Yeah, it's just fun. It's like focused on the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, good one. All right. Do you want to roll a character or a background, I should say?
I want to dive into the explosive creation formula here.
Yay. Okay.
But
Oh,
Real quick though,
yeah.
just to explain my previous answer, we were in the lightning round, so I didn't go into it. But that labyrinth role playing game,
Oh, yes, please. I'm interested.
so the way it's structured is it's 100 encounters, right?
Oh.
But each time the players complete an encounter, they roll an exploration die. So you don't play all 100, right? So you
Hmm.
can play it multiple times. Um, but every encounter uh has a non-combat solution. In fact, almost all of them have non-combat are designed to be non-combat solutions.
Hmm.
Um, and every encounter has random tables. So
Mm.
you can run the encounter multiple times. So that's why it makes a great tool because you can just flip through, pick an encounter, roll some dice, and come up with a exploration encounter or a non-combat encounter super quick and easy. And you just reflavor the goblin swamp or the goblin maze into whatever you're using. You just put a different polish on it, but it gives you like really cool non-combat encounters to use.
That is my stuff right there. I am 100% gonna go track down Labyrinth. One, I mean, I honestly I was a Dark Crystal guy if we have to choose between the two. But man, that is my, I mean, that's why this is the verdigris table because I love, I mean, because I had a whatever copper colored table that we played around always, but also I love tables. Like all of my stuff on the DM's Guild is, well, not all of my stuff, but all those tables on the DM's Guild, it's like, here's a situation, right? This thing has a stat block. You could fight it. But here's how it's interconnected to a couple other things, and like you could talk to this thing, you could run away from this thing, you could like stalk it and see what it does. Like I love that. Again, coming back to like in information and player choices, the more options, the better. Because combat's there. You get combat for free. So
Right.
what else are you bringing to the table? They can always fight the thing. I like that a lot. I'm gonna check that out. So let's try. Okay, this is the first time we're doing this. So the player facing side of the Dungeon Master's Compendium of Explosive Creation is I think it's more satisfying when you're physically rolling dice, but it's the first page is you roll one of everything. On a digital dice
Right.
roller, it
Take
actually
the
it
whole
kind
handful.
it's the best. It's literally one of each. It's not a D100, but 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20. Um, for our purposes here, let's roll them one at a time because I think it's with the digital dice roller, it's easy to get lost in the weeds. So let's pop this up on the screen. And well no, let's see you roll the dice. Let's roll a D20 first.
All right. I'm on a streak. You think I get 320s in a row?
You could, it doesn't, the magic item is the only one where I think it's better. Also, especially for you as my first guest, but for those watching at home, if you roll on any table that I make or any other table, just about, if you see something, if you rolled a 12, if you see something that is more appealing to you, grab that. The caveat, the magic items are a little more like tiered. But first off, let us say this is a character background. This is only flavor. This is system neutral. Do you have like a character in mind beyond the Gravedigger, which is what you chose? And I was super excited with your pick. That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so my initial thought was like, is it Charlie Cox? Is that his name? The guy that plays Daredevil. He was in the movie Stardust,
Mm.
and his character in that movie is just like he's just a guy living in a town with a crush on a girl, and you know that's where I'm starting. But my guy, instead of like you know having a specific thing to do, he's stuck in his dead end job as a gravedigger, and on top of it, he's scared of the dark. So that's what I got. We're gonna go from
Ooh, oh, I that's spicy. Um, all right. So actually, so yeah, you rolled number 12. This might not fit because you seem to have a pretty decent concept already, but live it up while they can before they too die. Um, Yeah, how's that sit with you? Does that mesh with what you were thinking, or are you thinking about
Yeah,
just
yeah, no, I think we can make that work. So yeah, so he wants to get the girl, right? So he took the job because he needs the money, but he wants to get the girl. So he's trying to live it up. And like that maybe that's what his saying is, right? Live it up. But what he's really trying
mm.
to do is he's just trying to impress people. He's trying to make people think he's cool, and he's not. He's just stuck in this stupid job as a gravedigger, and he's scared of the dark. But when he's in town, he tries to play it cool because he's trying to get the girl.
God, I love that. Yeah, sometimes your character is a specific way because they are that way, and sometimes they are acting a specific way because they are totally the opposite, and they're afraid that someone's going to find out, and that right there builds in progression. And yeah, I love the fact that you just like took it to like blue collar laborer, right? Like it's not just that's not the WWF, Undertaker guy. It's just like some schlub with a shovel who's dirty and is just like trying to better himself. All right, let's do a D12. How does this,
All
I mean,
right.
get the girl? Hard to beat, honestly, but roll a D12. What's the catalyst to become an adventurer? Everybody's favorite D12, that's a 10. Um, Zoomed out on me when I switched, but that's okay. Do 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 do. All right. Sometimes the past just won't stay buried. That's evocative. That's a backstory. Yeah, what does that mean for our I want to call him Charlie. Do you have a name already? I just want him to have some very vanilla
Yeah, we'll call
generic.
Charles is perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yes, won't stay buried. So I'm saying like one night he's digging a grave for somebody that's going to be buried first thing in the morning, and he finds some sort of necromantic thing, and so that would be my piece that I would serve up to the dungeon master. Like, all right, this is a piece of my story. I found this thing, and it's from the past, and it's probably evil, and it's probably going to get me in trouble, and it's totally going to derail my plan to get the girl. What is it?
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah, that willingness to be like, okay, what is my character good at? Like, how is he going to get burned, right? What is he bad at? Your jump stat is more interesting than your main stat half of the time if you're doing it right. Because that's what makes interesting stories. That's what am I going to overcome? What's the challenge here? Um,
Yeah, I'm thinking my
ooh,
dump stat is wisdom. I'm making bad choices here. I
it's
just found
just
something that should have stayed buried.
unaware, yeah, just doing my job. Maybe he was poking around a little bit because he's looking for it's a fine line between I don't know if he's lawful or chaotic, but like grave digger to grave robber, so there's a short walk, right? Especially if we're trying to, be impressive to the female we're trying to woo here. Give me a D8, please and thank you.
All right, here we go.
8.
8.
I think this is the part that is the least understood and maybe the most like flexible. But if you want to make an interesting character, having a potential trajectory and all of these things, this is like a session 0 2, but like at any moment, drawing from these as a game master or as a player, really, could be useful. So grappling with to accepting mortality. I mean, that feels pretty in your face, whether you're digging graves or you're adventuring. You like that, or you want to
Yeah.
re-roll on that one?
No, we can make that work. Like that's so yeah, so that's part so he's got kind of false front that he puts up. Like he's cool. You got to live large, you got to live life while it's here. But in the back of his mind, he just really doesn't want to die alone in this little town.
Mm,
Like that might have been that's probably the original motivation of why he wanted to get the girl because he just doesn't want to die alone.
mm.
But that struggle with mortality could take on a whole nother flavor once we get out into the wider fantastic world away from the mundane town.
Yeah, death stops being so abstract when you're making death saves, right? Like, yeah, interesting. This is a real evocative little. I think we're either this is an awesome character or like an awesome song. I'm not sure. Um, all right.
Both. Why can't it be both?
Well, he's a bard now. Did we talk about class?
We
Um,
have it.
Give me a D4 for
D4. All
what
right.
might be your favorite aspect of all of this stuff. A friendly faction.
Friendly faction.
And this is not necessarily somebody, oh, that's hard to read, huh? What do you and I'm not getting results on myself. What's that? Is that's a three?
I can't tell.
So I did not ask you what your least
Oh,
favorite
yep,
die
yep. It shows on
size
my
is.
screen. Yep. It's over
Okay,
here at the 3. Yep.
that's weird. Am I the
Okay.
game master? I should see your history, but whatever, three. Least favorite die size, D4. Although I've
Yeah.
seen a couple different varieties. Like I've only ever seen the pyramid until the last like maybe year or so, not even. Some die manufacturers are making like a truncated D8 basically, and my buddy at the table last night, 2 nights ago, had like a rounded D4, and I was like, I don't know if I like this, but I might. Friendly factions, the Onyxian. Just because I write it doesn't mean I know how to say it, folks. Onyxian Order pose as Gravedigger labor group, but real mission is to watch for undead.
Ah.
That ties in nicely with this like blue collar aspect that you're yeah maybe they're unionized maybe they have he's got a gravedigger like card with like a dirty thumbprint on it.
Yeah, well, and maybe that's how he knows one of the other player characters. Maybe he just so maybe there's like a paladin or a cleric in the group who has recruited him to this order. That could be a way to build a connection with another character.
Ooh, I love that so much because like yeah the unlikely hero is one of our favorite heroes, right? And like how you know there are undead around, sure, but like how is he interacting with them and sticking around to interact with them when that was absolutely not his goal in the first place?
Right.
Yeah, he got recruited, or maybe he's a useful idiot for this other organization that could always be represented at the table too, because it's not necessarily like he's part of this order. He just knows of it, and they are, slightly better than neutral towards him.
Right.
And NPC, give me a D. Oop, let's switch. Give me a D6, please, and thank you.
3.
Three. Mala Quill, amateur historian who keeps meticulous birth and death records. Interesting. Who is that to our Charlie Gravedigger here?
I'm gonna say that's the girl. That's the one he has a crush on.
Oh,
That
perfect.
yeah. So like when he comes back to town, he's still trying to impress her. Um, but maybe she keeps meticulous birth and death records because she's working for some sinister purpose for somebody else.
It does raise questions, doesn't it? It's a very
Yeah.
interesting. Why is she so interested in this?
Is she part of some like political group that's trying to overthrow the noble? Is
Uh,
that are they looking for a lost heir? What's
God,
going on here? This has some Game of Thrones vibes to it, maybe.
that's juicy. And there's a million potential. If a player walked up with this character backstory that like, please bullet points, not novel chapters. And like, hey, I'm in love with this uh creepy person potentially who's up to no good. Like, thank you. Let me think about that in the shower for 3 weeks. And like, yeah, I'm sure we'll cook up something cool with that. All right, now this is not going to be allowed at some tables, I bet, depending on what level we start at. But this is the one where high is good. We're talking about magic items. Roll a D10.
D10.
6. Oh, we zoomed out again. Um, the Shroud of Rest protects a corp against necromancy and extends time limits of raising. So a little free what's that? Spare the Dying.
Right, the dying. Yeah. So yeah. So it's like a cloak, a robe,
Yeah, I see
shroud,
it.
shroud. Oh, so it's like a
In my
blanket.
mind, it's like a sheet from like a funeral home, or like what they wheel them out on the gurney under.
Right. Yeah, a shroud that casts spare the dying. There you go. That's cool. And maybe it's a used shroud, right? Like what is the shroud of Turin? Is that what it's called?
It's got an
So
imprint on it.
it has an imprint of some saint that that it used to cover. Yeah,
Mm, mm.
just to make it a little extra weird.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to get that because that's it. It's a flavorful. We didn't talk about like the alternate titles I put in the marginalia here, but there's like it is pretty much what it is, the Gravedigger. But there's different ways to take it. I mean, you've taken it in a brilliant direction right out of the gate here. But like Undertaker, Death's Doorman, like the Crypt Keeper, right? You can get real weird with it, and I like the just like the vanilla, schlub, the guy working, who's just like all this creepy stuff like sticks to just because it's like, it's just my job, man. I don't know. I was just trying to get the girl and I fell in love with someone who's a bit creepy. All right. Now this is the dungeon master facing side of things.
Oh yeah, page
Um,
two. I love how it's laid out on like this 2-page spread. Like you get the whole thing. You don't have to flip a page. It's all right there.
I have never spent more time thinking about layout. I know what I like when I see it. And everyone has their own tastes, and a real layout nerd is going to be like, there's not enough white space here. I'm a minimalist in many aspects of my life, but like in a roll table of like these 2 pages are going to be filled with as many ideas as possible. Like I jam them in. I kept the font big so it's kind of readable, but like yeah, it's an overstuffed Oreo here. All right, to appeal to your player side here, even though this is the DM side, we're going to roll 4d6 as is tradition. So lay them all out. I'll write them down so it's in front of us. Drop 4d6s, please and thank you.
So let's see.
You could
How
do
do
them
I?
at a time if it's easier on this
Okay.
contraption.
Yeah, I haven't used this dice roll. I was trying to figure out how to roll more than one. Oh, there we go. I got it. All right, there we go. Oh, it actually made more
Five, two,
noise.
3, 3. 5, 2, 3, 3. And again, all of this is suggestions. In fact, part of me is like, if you roll a thing and you're like, that's dumb. It would be better if great. It's doing its job, right? If it makes you come up with an idea, it
Gets
doesn't
the
have to
wheels
be
turning. That's the important part of this.
exactly. All right. So on 5 for the antagonistic organization, the faction with some feuding and friction. What did I just say? 5. The Greenbrier Circle, druids who believe cemeteries should be returned to the wild land.
Uh,
That's it. I feel like he has to like trim a lot more hedges than he would otherwise because these druids are trying to overtake his cemetery. How would that fit into like let's maybe this campaign that you're running today or the potential future one? Like how would that fit into your world building today?
let's see. I would take that like and juxtapose it with the girl who's working for the organization that's trying to find an heir, right? Trying to find the missing noble, the missing heir,
Mm,
right? So there's like this political group, very like lawful evil, like manipulative, right? And then these druids are total opposite, chaotic good. But that doesn't mean they're the good guys, right? They're
mm,
so so this character is now stuck between these two groups, these druids who want to do one thing, and this girl who's wrapped up in this political drama, and so the druids are opposing the nobles and the nobles oppose the druids, but then there's this faction that's trying to undermine the nobles. So now we've got like this triangle of conspiracy.
that's great. Yeah. So again, this is what I love so much about your campaign prep playlist there is that like you just built an engine, right? That's a machine that makes interesting campaign happen. Great stuff. Rivals and enemies. So perhaps one of these druids, but maybe somebody else. Mort the Apt, generally liked Sage, who once feigned death to startle the character. Some of these are just there to make me smile. I'm glad you laughed. Yeah, how does what does that make you think of? How does that make you feel?
So he's an enemy. Okay, so Mort, I bet Mort's an apprentice of the local wizard,
Mhm, mhm,
and he's the other part of my love triangle, right? So I'm trying to get a girl, but she's the one that he's really into. He's the one that she's really into because like he's an up and coming wizard. He's gonna have magic, right? So she has a thing for him, and he's kind of my rival in that love triangle there.
God, I love this. I love this. He pranked you, and he's like, this is like an 80s like snowboarder movie or something.
Well, and now I'm thinking my character is going to be a warlock, right? Because I found something that should have stayed dead, right?
mm,
And now I'm trying to outdo this up and coming wizard apprentice. So I'm going to take the fast road to magic and get myself into some deep trouble.
God, oof. This is I will yes. I want to play this character or I want to run this campaign for this character. This is yeah, great. These can be a little more of out of left field because like you need a lot of interesting locations and I think I don't try to I mean I don't the connections happen anyway. But the locations and the monsters I think are the potentially the easiest parts to connect to other people's campaign, right? Because you're gonna have five if you're using the system, you're gonna have five player characters with this amount of like material to work with. One connecting them where like the paladin is a part of this association that is employing or pulling the strings of our poor Charlie, the warlock here. But two, if the warlock's antagonist happens to be at a location that speaks to us. Now everyone's getting a little piece of the pie. It doesn't also have to connect, but number three, Sky Whale Fall. I don't know if you're familiar with the with whale falls, but when a whale dies, it
Oh yeah.
drops to the bottom of the ocean and creates this whole like very temporary ephemeral ecosystem. So a sky whale, the corpses of these massive magical creatures spawn ecosystems. Yeah, so just this gigantic dead behemoth that was once magically flying. Um, yeah, and just like
And maybe that's the catalyst, right? That this whale dies, and that like the the potential, like, because we got druids, right? And we've got
mm,
a a group of clerics or paladins, right? This holy order, and then we've got our nobility, right? So maybe this the economic potential and the ecological potential of this whale, right,
mm,
has sparked these three factions to come to a head, right? Because you know the nobility wants something monetary value out of the whale. The druids want to groom the ecosystem for their ends, and then the church is concerned that this ecosystem is going to you know do something diabolical, right? So now everybody's motivated because of this sky whale that just died.
that's that's brilliant, and that made me think of like the potential fourth corner here of like, we didn't establish like what the necromantic angle organization is here, but like I didn't even think of it until you said that. Like a sky whale, lich, right? Like grab a Draco Lich stat block, right? And all of a sudden there's an undead flying whale under someone's control. Like that will shift the power balance of a region, right? Like,
Right, yeah.
ooh, that's juicy. That's interesting. And it's just
Yeah.
like
An
it's the
un
last straw, right? Like you've been battling to one against your personal fear of the darkness and like being creeped out by the undead. And you're just trying to get this, just get enough scratch together to impress the girl, and a whale falls from the sky and just leaves a crater in this, cemetery you're trying to make as manicured as possible. And that's it. I'm making a deal with the devil and I'm getting Eldritch Blast and we're going adventuring because I can't do this anymore. Oh God,
Yeah.
what a moment. That feels very like Douglas Adams to me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. A whale lich. I mean, it's basically an undying missile that you can just aim at your enemies.
God, yeah, incredible, incredible. I need to excuse me. I'm going to write this down, and I need to make another thematic monster here. All right, number three, ossuary. That's a word I don't know if I've said out loud. Ossuary elemental, dreadful imps formed from bones and cremation ashes.
Oh. Yeah, and
Ooh,
that's what crawled out of the dead whale. Yeah.
oh, oh, yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
that whatever killed the whale was some sort of what are imps? Imps are devils, right? So some sort of like hellish energy is what killed the whale, and then these imps are rising up out of its waste.
And that has a lot of potential to connect to your patron, right? Either you're like an infernal warlock or you're not, and this is like a rival to your patron, and they're like clear out these imps, and that starts your cycle here.
Yeah, that
Um,
that could be the first adventure, because I mean imps are relatively low level creatures, right? So you
mhm.
party gets together to fight off a couple of these imps that have shown up out of the whale carcass.
Oof. And I love this idea of like starting there, and then in a few levels, it's like, oh, someone's trying to reanimate that dead whale, and that would be real bad. You think these imps were tough. And then like, yeah, I like cycles and circles and callbacks, and yeah, any opportunity I get to like start connecting dots that way, I will definitely jump at. All right, this is a D20, the swingingest of dice. So it has, I mean, everything's lining up real nice for us. I think that's mostly in part to your brilliant creativity as a dungeon master here. But roll a d20, and the reason there's 20 of these is not because I think you need the 20 to make it work, is that you're going to keep reaching. This is the basket to keep pulling from, especially if you're adapting. Um, this is an adventure idea, but it's also a plot hook. It's the connective tissue. Like, why am I going to get this character to give a crap about what I, the game master, want them to do in the first place? Uh, so yeah, one
Yeah,
d20 to finish her off.
this sounds like something you could roll on to help you start generating secrets and clues, right?
Oh, 1,000%, 1,000%.
Yeah,
Also, the catalyst is secretly that too. 8.
8.
So as much as I've very carefully laid out and developed a way to use this, if you or anyone watching um, sees other ways to use it or decide to rip it up for its scrap metal and build their own system, please. That would bring me great joy. All right, plot hook. We said 8, correct? I didn't write that down. 8.
Yep.
The tavern was expanding its cellars and unearthed an ancient burial grounds. I mean, yeah, that's a gimme. There's 12 of those on the DM's Guild I could pick up today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and and that could be your second adventure, right? Like you start with the whale carcass. The whale has fallen from the sky, and the party members are, the 4 or 5 witnesses that watched it happen, and they have so your opening scene is the dying whale, and you fight these imps that climb out of the carcass, and you go back to the tavern to kind of nurse your wounds and get some food and rest and recover. But no, there's something
Mm,
below the tavern.
mm.
The quake of this creature hitting the ground has broken something in the basement of the inn, and now another sinister force is creeping up from the ground.
Oh, incredible. Man, and that's a strong start. Sitting around the table, oh, describe your character to me. Oh, what's that in the sky? It's a whale plummeting.
Did
Start
you
the
say a
adventure.
whale? What?
I did. I'm sorry, sky whale. I forgot to mention it's a sky whale, of course, or it was, because now it's a crater, and these creepy little things are pouring out of it. What do you do? Um, yeah, and I love the unexpected consequences of also, yeah, this like a wall fell down in the basement because of the geological shock of a whale, the creating seismic activity by plummeting from the sky. Oh, that's good stuff. That was great. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, we are we have similar styles. That was very fun to watch.
Yeah,
Um,
these tables are great. I love this book. I'm eager to get my copy. This is cool.
soon. It's not it's what I do as much of the time as I can, and it's what I'm always thinking about in a background process. We are 2 months out. I said April, and my goodness, I'm going to try to make it April. There was a moment of hesitation because it was going to be March, and then it was going to be May that the new player's handbook was going to come out.
Oh yeah.
So there was a point where like I'd actually dragged my feet a little bit when the rumor was March so that I could, it's system neutral, but I wanted to, if there was one or two that I didn't have that was in the player's handbook, I wanted to make sure they lined up. And then it was going to be May, so I was like, maybe I'll push it back. I was actually going to like ask folks about it, and then they pushed it to September. So I'm not going to leave people hanging for, I don't, what would that be? 4 months, 5 months. I want this in everybody's hands. So yeah, April, everyone should get their hands on it, and there may be a second edition. Let's put it that way. There may be a revision.
That's very
Um,
cool. Yeah, I mean, I mentioned those three campaign ideas I have, but um I think by the time I get my hands on this book is probably going to be close to when our current campaign ends,
ooh,
and I just might start a campaign from scratch. Just have my players roll on this table, each pick a background and roll on these tables, and
mm,
then just build a campaign based on what they roll. Like go into it with no preconceived notion of what this campaign is going to be, and just generate it completely random. Like that. That's that's like 15-year-old Brad. Like that was me, playing AD&D back in the day, like winging it, just flying
yes.
by the seat of my pants. I have no idea what these players are going to bring to the table, and we're just gonna figure it out together as we go. Um,
And that's great. And I love that. And I love both. I'm using I'm playtesting this right now. And I'm running uh Fandelver and Below right now. I got Shattered Obelisk, and both of my groups, I always put it up to a vote. So I wanted to run 20 different one shots this year, a bunch of different systems. I put it to a vote, and instead we did Pathfinder, which is the equivalent of running 20 different systems. Which is I really enjoyed it. I really loved it. But like the crunch is real. There's an answer for everything. It's appealing. If you like crunch, Pathfinder's for you, baby. But rules light, it is not. And then we put it to a vote, and everybody wanted to play Shattered Obelisk. And one group decided they unanimously went for level 1 start, and one group ran level 5 start, which is like the new content that they've added on to Lost Mine.
right? Yeah.
Um, and I did this and like used it to like, okay, you rolled this NPC and I need this NPC to like drive things forward. So now this NPC and this NPC are like melted together into a single form. So it's super adaptive. And part of
You
the
you spiced up the Wizards of the Coast material with your explosive creation stuff.
in
Yeah.
a way that now the players connect to the things, because there's always that, like, not always, but like sometimes you have that like, will they, won't they, do they like this NPC? For some reason they've decided that they're the bad guy, even though like I want you to work, like I want, in my head this person was going to give you like the next 5 quests. I don't know why you did, I don't know what I did as a person to make you distrust their body language or whatever. So built in like, oh, you know this person, like we haven't even started playing yet, like your buds, this is your friend in town. Boom, right away. Now that plot hook, hey, did you see that sky whale fall? Like it's right there. Um, it's a gimme. But the other thing is like you're running Salt Marsh and it's decide to explore the countryside. This is a 2-page spread. All right, I got 5 players. Which one of these things? I'll sometimes just like open it up and see if something like jumps up off the page at me and be like, that. Rolling dice is fun, but again, you don't need to let them be the dictator here. So when you're scrambling, it's nice to have options. And I take comfort in, I have 100 plot hooks. I got 5 players, there's 100 plot hooks. I'm never going to run out of material. And just like psychologically, I feel prepared, even if I haven't read a page of it. Right.
Right. No, I mean definitely. If I could see if you sat down and did a session 0 where all your players, 4 or 5 players, rolled on these charts, came up with their backstory, and you wrote down all the plot hooks that they rolled and the faction that they rolled and the NPCs, like that would give you plenty of stuff to build a campaign off of.
Yep.
And all you
Yep.
got to do is plug it into my, get even campaign process and use it.
That's it. It needs a framework. This is a box of building blocks. And it doesn't come, I mean, it comes with instructions kind of, but like, yeah, I like you're zoomed out one level of like, okay, how are all these pieces going to interact? fill these slots. Yeah, it is a very nice it's a nice synergy. Yeah, so go check out that playlist. There's a ton of great material. I know that I'm personally like factions is a great it's a siege engine that is going to drive your campaign forward. But there's a lot of good material in there. Check out the Baldur's Gate video for sure. We also did a collab on 10 ways to
That's
start a
right. Yeah.
campaign. We missed Sky Whale falling from the sky.
Yeah.
So that's a bonus one. I'm sorry, folks. But 10 other ways to start a campaign that is the hook was don't start in a tavern, which I'm a big fan of anyway. But there was some great conversations in that. You brought some really cool ideas to the table.
So did you. It's a great two-part series for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, those are good. So links to everything that we mentioned, at least our videos down below. I'm gonna have to rewatch this and take notes because there's some cool. You dropped a lot of cool third-party stuff, not all of which I have heard. Yeah, anything else? What's on deck for you in the world of YouTube? I mean, you got a Patreon coming out. That's exciting. That's a big step.
Yeah, so stay tuned for, the Patreon launch, and um I just wrapped up the series on new version of D&D where I went through all the playtest material and boiled it down into something digestible. So it's like 4 15-minute videos that goes all over all the different content that we're expecting to see in the new edition of D&D.
Mm, mm.
Um Later this week, I'm doing a dungeon building video using the Shadow Dark system. So,
Ooh,
um,
big where I'm married, but yeah, big fan of Shadow Dark. It's yeah, for anybody looking to I mean, for anybody looking for a TTRPG, that's a good one. But if you want to dip your toes into that more OSR worlds, it's very approachable. It's got let's call them modern sensibilities.
mhm,
And Kelsey Dion, I mean, I don't know her personally, but she seems like an awesome person. I've run a ton of her one shots and watched a bunch of her conversations with people and videos she's made. She just seems like a genuinely good person worth supporting. So
sure,
yeah,
yeah.
double endorsement for Shadow Dark. Cool. I look forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely get the sense from the feedback in my comments that most of my viewers, they either play fifth edition or they play Shadow Dark. Those are like, I think that's my audience. So
Mm,
um so moving forward, that's most of my content is those two things, right? It's either going to be general useful advice that you could use for either, or specific 5e stuff, or specific Shadow Dark stuff. Like that's I think that's going to be my kind of wheelhouse for now.
nice. Sounds like a great wheelhouse. That's a great place to live. Yeah. All right. Well, happy 1 year anniversary.
Thanks.
That's exciting. Yeah, like here's to another great year. Hopefully, the world doesn't go on fire around us, but even if it does, we'll be fine. We'll adapt.
We'll still be
We're
playing D&D because you gotta do something to stay sane, right? Even when the world's in chaos.
exactly even more. Even the I mean, the world's a chaotic place even outside of the world of the game world, right? So yes, to productive escapism.
Well, thanks for having me on. I always love our conversations. I feel like we every time we talk, we probably come up with enough content to build a campaign off of.
Oh God, I mean, just I am feeling deeply inspired right now. I'll just leave it at that. That was very cool. I think I might write a sitcom though. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this energy. But yeah, I think I might go write a pilot right now. There's this guy and he loves a girl and then a whale falls from the sky. I got the whole pitch. It's gonna be great. It's Pushing Daisies meets Dungeons and Dragons. All right, Brad, thank you. Go check out Dire Den. Great stuff over there. Once it's up, support him on Patreon because well, he's doing all this stuff for free. And yeah, support is important in this world that we live in.
And thanks again for having me on. And I'm so looking forward to getting my hands on your new book. Like that, this thing looks awesome.
Thank
I'm
you. I
I'm I'm
appreciate
geeked
that.
for
It's
it.
very, very soon. Very soon.